Oh, I feel I have been a bit sniffly, but do I sound really nasally?
No.
Okay, that's just my voice.
Yeah.
Awesome.
You're naturally nasally.
Naturally nasally. Okay, all right. Thank you for tuning in today. Hello, welcome to the Video Lineup Podcast.
Welcome.
This is Nicholas, and I'm Thomas.
Can I say my name?
You can say your own name. I'm trying to take over as much as possible. No talking.
Sorry.
I'm Thomas. I'm Thomas. Okay, we're losing the plot here. Should we start again?
Maybe.
Okay. Hello and welcome to the Video Lineup Podcast. This is episode number 7. Awesome.
Flying through,
Getting some sibilance as we're at number 7. The Graduate. Welcome. We are watching the AFI Top 100 Films of All Time. Number 7 is The Graduate. 1967. Excellent movie. Hopefully you're watching along at home.
Yes.
Thank you for tuning in again. So what's The Graduate about, Nicholas?
So it's I was trying to think of a quick, easy synopsis, but basically it's a college, a guy's completed college and he's feeling a little bit lost about where he's heading in life. Then he finds himself in having an affair with a family friend's wife. And then it's the story of him eventually falling in love with her daughter.
So just your regular wholesome family.
Yeah.
Get the kids, gather around the television.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I think so.
That's the crux of the story.
I mean, the title is The Graduate. So
yeah.
It's just all about this one guy.
Yeah.
Benjamin Braddock. It's a pretty great movie.
Yeah, I've mixed feelings about it, to be honest. I love the way it was shot, but I think the actual story itself just left me wanting.
So we've got Dustin Hoffman playing Benjamin Braddock. At the time of filming, he's like 29 or something. He's playing a 20-year-old.
Yeah.
Fun fact. And Bancroft was only 35. So there's only 6 years for difference between them.
There you go.
I don't know whether they put some grey makeup through her hair or something, but she was a long-time smoker.
There were particular shots that it looked like they'd put something through her hair.
Yeah, but he does.
Makeup.
He's very, very believable as this 21-year-old.
Yeah,
straddles his birthday in the story. Super believable as that guy. He's really good. This is his first. Dustin Hoffman, obviously everyone knows. Became a huge star.
Yep.
Went on to do things like Midnight Cowboy and Meet the Fockers.
Yeah.
Which is actually really great.
Yeah.
Meet the Parents is the first one. Meet the Fockers is the second one. Yeah. So Meet the Fockers. This is his first movie ever.
Ah, really?
Yeah, first film. He was originally cast in. There was another movie. Mel Brooks had him cast in something, and then the audition came up for this. And because Mel Brooks, his wife is Anne Bancroft, was Anne Bancroft. Mel Brooks is still around. I'm pretty sure Mel Brooks is still around. Sorry. He released him because he was like, he's not going to get the role. So he let him go and audition, got the role, and, rest is history.
Yep.
We also had Gene Hackman, who was a touch older, was cast in a role. Who was he? He was cast, I think, as the dad, Mr. Robinson. But then he was fired after a week.
Okay.
Yeah, and he went off and did something else. Oh, gosh, I can't remember. These people, like Hollywood, the history of all these movies and all they hate, how they came to be, is just so fascinating.
Yeah.
It's a lot of luck how these people get cast in these movies. And then when, a perfect storm, it always seems like a movie like this comes along and everyone's just locks in. Is that the sound of a locking? It's like a popping a bubble. I don't know to something that's synergy. Yeah. What do you think? Was the cast really good, like across the board?
I think it was cast well. I wasn't convinced that of certain aspects. Like as the story progressed, I wasn't convinced of him falling in love with the daughter. I think if we go from the start, there's a couple of aspects I really like. My wife pointed out that one of the opening scenes where he's celebrating his college graduation and his parents have invited all their friends over, and the way it's shot makes you feel sort of a bit anxious because it's close in, it's sort of moving around. And I was feeling that way, but I didn't even notice. And my wife said, "Oh, I like the way how they've shot this. It's like you're right in their face and you really feel how he's feeling."
Yeah. Yeah. He's essentially come back from college and he's got all these questions about what life's supposed to be. You know, like we all, or I guess I did at that age.
Yeah.
And he's come back and you sort of have him leaning, one of the first shots very soon after. It's like this single shot where all the credits roll and he's standing motionless as he's moving on the automatic, you know, the thing at the airports that you stand on?
Yeah, escalator
thing that just gets you level. He's going,
Yeah.
he's not going up, he's not going down, he's just going along and all the credits play and you got the Simon and Garfunkel soundtrack. Excellent. Drop that in there. And then he sort of sat, the next thing is at home. And it's close in on him.
Yeah.
And he's got the fish tank behind him.
Yeah, that was a great shot.
Yeah, there's sort of metaphors of him just being underwater. He's sort of like overwhelmed. He's not not in the right place where he's going to thrive. And then no one cares about him.
But does he comes across as quite awkward and uncomfortable in social environments. But then his parents are talking about all these achievements that he was like the head of like the high school newspaper or something. And I couldn't gel that together. Like he didn't seem like a confident person. That
you didn't think that like the way he was being was maybe a product of having achieved all of these things and realized what now? Because, you know, you're in high school and your whole world is high school. You're in college, maybe your whole world is college. And you go, if only I just get a high distinction on this part, you know, and then you get your high distinction and you walk out the front door and you realize, oh, no one in the world cares about my high distinction. No one cares about that I was the captain of this or that. That got me this far. Now what?
But I can't imagine him achieving those things as this awkward kind of character.
Maybe
like
that's...
we thought he came across as if he may have had Asperger's or something. Like the way he was talking and communicating.
Yeah. But look, I didn't think of that. That's a good point. I more just took it as they were just focusing the character on this one experience that he was having right now at home in this environment with the parents. You didn't see him with friends. You didn't see him in any other scenario. Every scenario was to do with this very tiny story in his life.
Yeah,
he didn't go and do anything. It's almost like I felt like no one listened to him at all. No one cared about anything he had to say. There's this at the beginning. He's saying, "Dad, I just need to be left alone. Just don't make me go out there yet."
Yeah.
Then later on, it's his birthday, and he's got that ridiculous, snorkel thing. He just keeps begging his dad to listen to him.
Yeah.
Mrs. Robinson just keeps treating him like a piece of meat. Like just do what I say. Do what I say.
Yeah.
I felt like maybe. Nowadays, we could go into what they would have done if it was nowadays, but I don't know if that back then they were trying to communicate they had Asperger's or whatever it's called.
Yeah, not saying that I think that's what they were trying to communicate, but he seemed like that type of character that would have been, you know, maybe someone that was picked on at school rather than someone who was head of the...
He gets pretty stalkery later on, though.
I know.
So he's got some confidence there.
Yeah, that's true. The only time I felt like you saw him come out of his shell was when he went on that first date with, what was her name? Elaine?
Elaine, yeah. Who is the bright spot in this movie. This is a really good movie. Like, I thought Dustin Hoffman's fantastic in it, although I probably... Now you're saying that, I'm like, oh, maybe they could have like dropped a few more hints that he was believable as this guy.
Did he claim to be in love with her after just the first date?
Yeah. Also, like
which I wasn't convinced.
Yeah, there's a few things that are that don't work now. Exactly that he's in love with her, but also like he takes it to her. So we're talking about. There's a moment, Dustin Hoffman. He's carried on a continual affair over several months with Mrs. Robinson. It's been very passionless, by the numbers.
Yeah.
She's treating him like a piece of meat. He's not at all, he's aimless, no idea what he wants to do in life. Feels kind of like no one's listening to him, and he's just desperate to cling on to the closest thing, and it satisfies obviously his carnal needs or desires to, push out and do something. He's being encouraged by the dads in this story are stupid.
Yeah.
His dad doesn't listen to him.
Yeah.
There's another guy who gathers him around at that first party in the first 5 minutes of the movie, and it's the famous line. He gets him by the pool. He's like, "Come out here. I just want to talk to you. I want to talk to you." He gets around. I got one word for you.
Yeah.
Plastics.
Nice.
And that's it. That's all the guy's got for him.
Yeah.
He's like, "There's a big future in plastics." Okay, cool. All right, thanks.
Yeah.
And then he goes and he drops Mrs. and he's got the husband and Mrs. Robinson after she's been stripped off and he's like downstairs and the guy's trying to dispense advice. His advice goes like this: go sow your wild oats, go and try things on, and also call my daughter and take her out.
Yeah.
What? You're terrible. You're suggesting that he goes out and just tries it on with a bunch of girls, and hey, maybe one of the first girls you tried on with is my daughter.
Yeah.
Like these are not stand-up good quality men to follow. And then he goes on this affair, and sorry to rehash things, and then Mrs. Robinson forbids him from seeing her daughter as we sort of learn a bit, about what's happened with her, where she fell pregnant and had the kid and felt like she had to get married, it seems, but you sort of get this hint that she's a really sad person, but she's forbidding Benjamin from having Dustin Hoffman's character, Benjamin Braddock, from having anything to do with her precious daughter. So he takes her out on a date, but at the behest, as the lesser of two evils in his mind, because his mum was going to have like the Robinsons and the Braddocks together, 2 parents and 2 kids. And he's like, that sounds like hell, so I've got to take her out as a best option.
Yeah. And takes her to
a strip joint. And then gets to the thing there's a long way of saying the thing that isn't believable is that after he finally realizes I can't do this. She's crying. This is not in line with who I really am. 30 seconds later, she's crying. He's embarrassed her to the point, oh my gosh, no one in real life would recover from, and she's just crying and she's like, I can't stop crying. So he just kisses her and then it cut to them just chatting it like everything's totally fine.
Yeah.
Like
that's sort of what I
felt like I had to give the backstory there too.
Yeah, no, that's helpful. And that's where I felt this film was quite artistic with the way they were shooting a lot of the film. And I almost feel like that was the priority and some of the storytelling was left on the back.
I don't mind it though.
Bit. Yeah.
Like those moments, like I say, it's not believable. But if the point of the movie, it feels like, is the themes, like I feel like this is really big on like driving home this idea that finding meaning, or choosing the experience. What did the director say? Like there's all these people who have chosen the appearance of a successful life over the experience of a successful life. They're all less kind of hollow.
Yeah.
Like Mrs. Robinson majored in art and she's obviously not tried to do anything with that.
Yeah, yeah.
So you can see that she's chosen comfort. And so those themes are really important. And I don't mind if they maybe cut out, if they wanted to do a 3-hour version of this movie, maybe he would have had to take her on 3 different dates for them to get to a kiss.
Potentially.
It's like, who cares? Maybe the point is to get to...
Are you meant to care about their relationship? Like I almost don't care if they get together or not at the end because I don't.
Because you don't believe it?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's where you get to the difference between 2023.
Yeah, I'm trying to,
I guess, yeah.
Yeah, trying to allow for the age of the film to, like, obviously the way people have told stories over the years has evolved.
And also culture. Like maybe some moments like that are more believable in a society where, like let's, when Ben Braddock has to, he sort of calls Mrs. Robinson's bluff. She says she's going to reveal everything to the family about the affair.
Yeah.
And so he just runs up to Elaine. Yeah, Elaine. Yeah. And reveals it himself. And so then a bit of time goes past and everyone's upset and everything. And then you reveal that Mrs. Robinson actually told everyone that he raped her.
Yeah. Yeah.
2023, there's a whole like 45 minutes where there's been arrested. He's gone to jail. That can't just be dropped in there.
Yeah.
as a thing. But I guess in 1967, that's just how those issues were handled. So you couldn't make the same movie with the same leaps today.
Yep.
Do you think?
No. Yes, no.
Yes, no. I'll ask only yes.
No.
Yeah, but but Catherine Ross, who plays Elaine, I think I already said this. She's really good. I just think that she's the best cast character in the movie, like because there's a lot of weight she has to carry. I think
Elaine, you thought she was the best.
I just really like her. She's good in Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid as well. She's in that. I don't know that she's in a ton of other things, but she just sort of innocence and happiness and I don't know. That's kind of what the character is supposed to be. There's this guy, Ben Braddock, who has like got hopes and stuff, and he's got himself all covered in the mess of adultery or of an affair. And you've got Mrs. Robinson, who's just like she's a hollowed out shell of who she wished she could be.
I thought she was the best actor.
Yeah, well, she was very good.
Yeah.
I'm not saying she wasn't good.
Cast, no.
I think I just found maybe because she was portraying innocence a bit more.
Yeah,
I just liked her. She was just likable.
Did Ben and her have a history in the past? Because they knew.
I think just as kids.
Yeah,
there's a lot of stuff left out.
Is
that such a bad thing? I guess
no. That's fine. I think.
If you leave a gap, I'll fill it with words. If I leave a gap, you go.
I need time to think.
No time. Just my modus operandi is just keep talking and hope that there's a thought that can form itself. What do you think about the themes? Like I was touching on, like the importance of these themes that it's showing, because it really doesn't paint a very good picture of just giving into your physical desires and stuff, especially for something made in the swinging 60s. The wages of their the wages of their affair is ultimately a lot of pain and suffering.
It shows, I guess, sheds a light on how messy it can be. Like sometimes an affair can be portrayed as something that would be exciting and a bit naughty, whereas this really shows how, I guess, loveless and empty it can be, and they keep doing it, but it's not really satisfying what they're looking for.
I don't know if it's because of the time that it was made in, or but I don't know that Mike Nichols is necessarily like, I don't know what else he's made. Maybe we'll look it up in a second, but I don't know that they're necessarily trying to say some sort of conservative message, even in the era of the swinging 60s and stuff, 1967, right in the middle of it. But it does feel like it's a really clear line. I mean, if you draw a line all the way back to what Mrs. Robinson says, it's really about her having sex with her husband or her future husband in college. At her, like it wasn't even romantic. It's just like
in the car.
It's in the car.
Yeah,
there might be something about a bit kinky about that, or whatever for them, teenagers.
Yeah.
But ultimately, like if you look at Mrs. Robinson's life, yes, she was wealthy, and yes, she had security, and yes, she had all these different things, and she got her daughter, but she's empty, and it's sort of that one moment was trying to replicate itself, and she could see how it replicated itself in her affair with Ben Braddock, and that maybe she didn't necessarily it's like she didn't respect him at all. She just wanted to consume him. Like the artwork that was on the Apple TV is this panther or cougar or something, which makes sense, cougar, looking like it's going to devour him.
Yeah,
and she knew that she'd replicated her problem, and she'd passed on the sin or the pain or the suffering. She'd passed it on to him.
Yeah.
And she'd corrupted him with it to the point that she didn't want him to have anything. Like she was angry. He was like, she's, beside herself at the thought that he would have anything to do with her daughter.
Yeah. And there's quite a powerful shot where I can't remember the exact scenario where they're fighting and then he comes. Can we cut?
No, what is it?
Where it's shot and it sort of pulls back and she's like in a corner. She looks short and they've really done her makeup so she looks almost
Oh, when what part?
skeletal. This is after she.
After it's been revealed, or
Yeah, it's been revealed. She has, I think,
he breaks into the house or sneaks
yeah,
into the
something
house?
like that, and revealed. She told him that, or he's confronting her about telling people that he raped her.
That's right. Yeah.
And then there's a shot. It's a white background. She's in the corner and just
Okay.
got this long
Like
hair.
she's
The grey's really pronounced, and her face is kind of a grey
Yeah.
color, and she looks old and decrepit
Yeah.
around that time.
Yeah. No, but it makes sense
I watched it last night
because this is like, so The Godfather, episode 3. Go back and watch it if you haven't already. Fantastic discussion by two very handsome gentlemen.
Yes.
Much more classic cinema. Cameras. Not. There may be some handheld. I can't think of the handheld shots that would be in it, but a lot of stuff on dollies.
Yeah.
This movie employs different filmmaking techniques, and what you're talking about right there, it just feels like there's some of the new age, not new age. It's the new cinema, new Hollywood
Okay.
kind of approach.
Is that why this would be ranked so high? Do you know? Because
Yeah, I think so. I think it's ranked really high. Yeah, definitely, because it's really, there's stuff in this movie that's like, why is so much time devoted to Ben Braddock coming out and getting into the water, into the pool, wearing a full scuba diving outfit?
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with the story.
I know there's some shots
all character.
which are so long and there's not a lot that happens, but they're interesting shots.
They're interesting shots. And ultimately they serve to communicate what I'm talking about before I asked you about with the themes and stuff, like what you were saying with the picture of how she's portrayed. Even when it's revealed, like, that both Ben and Mrs. Robinson are saturated because it's been raining outside.
Yeah.
Elaine is like happy and smiley and dry and obviously been inside and warm. And like you can see, like there's a difference between the two.
Yeah.
They're covered in their mistakes. They're soaked in in this, like there's a lot of stuff with like water in this movie. They've been immersed in it and it's messed them up. She reveals in the doorway, sort of Mrs. Robinson comes, behind Elaine as Ben's trying to talk to her about, and she, like you said, same thing. She looks haggard and nothing at all like what they were trying to do with, the sexiness, I guess, of the beginning. All of the way she's take my clothes off, put my legs over here, pour a drink, all the game she's trying to get get the prey into the trap. You know? Now it's, the mask has come off and she's just a sad old lady who's, well, not that old. She's 35. She's younger than I am right now.
Yeah. And I really like the shot the first time they had sex at the hotel. He books the room and he's going to the room first. And it's a shot which has no dialogue. It's him walking from right down the end of the hallway and approaching the room, and the room's like in darkness.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like his descent into darkness.
It's really clever, isn't it? All these things. Yeah. There's a scene at the end where he's running to go to the church where Elaine is getting married.
Yep.
Talk about the character leaps leaping ahead like she's some dude that you don't know story-wise about. All of a sudden she's getting married and he's got to run and stop it. That's why I think this movie doesn't care about story as much as it cares about character and theme and the filmmaking. So that shot as he's running is on a super long telephoto lens. So he's running full speed, Dustin Hoffman, and running straight towards the camera, and it, like, eventually over the course of 30 seconds he gets somewhere because you can't help but physically move, but it barely looks like he's moving. Like he is absolutely thundering as fast as he can. Yeah. And you can just see this guy has to work. It's like the machinery of mediocre, so middle class, plastics life, for success is this heavy burden on him. And the only way for him to sort of get away from it is to just thunder with all of his energy. And even then he barely is getting anywhere.
Yeah.
Same deal. Like all the themes of every single shot, like you said, that shot that Tessa saw at the beginning with the like that cinema verite center of the real, like kind of like handheld camera, really shaky, dizzying, stressful. There's more people really right up in his space, always talking to him.
Yeah.
That's overwhelmed. That's another like technique of like
it's
getting you in the.
because I felt that with the dialogue that it was a lot of the sentence structures were quite short, and I was wondering.
That's a deep insight. I didn't even think of that.
Well, I was. Thank you. I was thinking that as you were talking, maybe they were relying on the way things were shot and the sort of subtle symbolism throughout was a way of communicating the story, what they're not saying with the dialogue.
Yeah.
Which I maybe missed the first time. Well, I only watched it once. So.
What do you mean with the short sentences? Sorry.
Well, I guess they're not trying to over communicate to tell the story. So by the way they're filming it, you've sort of got to do a bit of the hard work by interpreting.
Yeah, but even having said that, it doesn't feel like hard work to watch this movie. I mean,
no,
you can speak to that.
No, but because I guess I wasn't drawn into the particular characters in the story as much. I enjoyed watching the film for the way it was shot, but
the likability of people affected your watch, like you.
Yeah, I didn't really like any of the characters, or
you didn't like Elaine. I really liked Elaine.
Well, you didn't get to know.
No, you don't get to know her. That's true. I think I'm probably just because I think that you kind of, you know how people in TV shows they say shipping for people, you know, two characters there.
Yeah.
You want two characters to get together. You kind of I want the best for her, and you kind of want the Ben Braddock of before the affair to sort of fall in love, and then everything's happy go like. I don't know that I'm like that though.
I don't know. My wife made a comment that about it'd be better for her to run from him. I think I agree with that. Like her life would be better and easier.
Yeah, maybe. Who knows about
without him?
Who knows?
Even at the end when they're riding on the bus after he ran up and declared his love for her, and they ran off from the wedding, you could see the look on her face of uncertainty. I wasn't convinced that she'd
done the right thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's the thing with that shot. So there's a couple of really famous, like, yeah, I say really famous. I know about them, so I know that shot is really famous in filmmaking.
Okay.
In general, that two shot that's been parodied in The Simpsons and other things.
Okay.
So the two of them with that look on their face, it's meant to leave you like wondering, you know, it's a happy ending, but it's not a happy ending.
Yeah.
Because the thing is in life, do you ever do one thing that solves all your problems? You don't. Do you ever sort of like come out the end of some big achievement or some big decision or move forward and all of a sudden it's just sunshine and rainbows from here on out? But I don't know whether those characters necessarily were looking for that. I think Ben Braddock probably realizes, and you're right, you don't really get to know her too much. But between the two of them, those looks on their face, so they smile, they both smile, they don't smile at the same time. They're sort of like having a moment.
And then they're not looking at each other.
They're not looking at each other. They're sort of, but also who are they looking at? Who's around them? Did you see the reverse shot?
Yeah.
It's all people that are like the parents that are swarming them and harassing them at the beginning of the movie that are all on the bus at the same time. It's like there's no choice. We're all going on the same journey of life. We're all going through this. You think you've escaped. You've just gone from one thing to the exact same thing in another scenario.
Yeah.
And now you two still got to work it out.
Yeah.
You know, it's not fate. It's, purpose. It's like, what's the meaning of life, and what do we do next? And he was the top of the world.
Yeah.
And then he sort of went down into hell,
Yeah.
by his own will. Like he was the prey, but by his own will, he ended up doing that. And it's like there's no one thing he's going to do that's not going to stop that from possibly being something he has to confront again in the future.
But it's almost going back to what Mr. Robinson said, sow your wild oats. He's like, all right, stuff it. I'm going to take their advice for once and just throw myself into this.
Yeah. Like you mean Ben Braddock's just going to take their advice?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he didn't know what to do or where to go.
Yeah, he does he's quite passive at the beginning. And he becomes very, very active once he decides that he's got to get Elaine.
Yeah.
Like he physically goes and gets another apartment in another place.
Yeah.
and it's a dark. It's like he doesn't care what he has to put himself through to achieve something. You sort of see why he became successful, like we were saying, or somewhat agreeing about before. He's a, yeah, but there's a lot of leaps in this character. Can we move on to a different subject about the movie? I'll ask you a question. If they made the Graduate today, or do you think they could make The Graduate today? What do you think would be faced with? Because I'm watching the movie and I've seen it twice. Is this the first time you saw the movie?
First time.
So the first time I saw it, I was probably saying I didn't really know what to expect. The second time around, admittedly, probably like 10 years ago I watched it, I just found myself sort of wondering about if they made it today, what would it be like? Did you think of that?
No, I didn't, but maybe
you didn't.
You tell us your thoughts.
Well, no, I was watching the movie going, like we said, that there's lots of leaps the characters make. She's really upset having just had a stripper, jiggling and stuff behind her and embarrassing her, humiliating her really.
Yeah.
And he's trying to apologize and come on. And the next thing they know, they're kissing, and then boom, it's that sort of stuff. All these leaps forward. Also, he's proposing marriage. Also, she's going to be married to another guy. There's a lot of leap forwards you don't really get without a hint. So there's those things that I don't think would work. But I also wonder about the affair, whether or not we would, in today's day and age, whether movies would go a little bit on that Judd Apatow direction. I do really like his movies.
What is it?
Sort of like trivialize the heaviness of what he's going into. Like Mrs. Robinson is clearly, are you trying to seduce me, Mrs. Robinson? That line, and he's really ashamed he even suggested that because he's just using his brain, and then she's like gaslighting him.
Yeah.
I wondered whether or not that would be played for laughs or played in a different way in a movie now, because the whole, Stifler's mom sort of American Pie sort of different shift towards, what does he say, sexual politics in movies, or whether it would be something, because TV shows can tend to wrestle with those things sometimes, or if the golden age of TV is still around, they sometimes do those sorts of things in a real similar sort of heavy way. Even like you said, in the hallways, walking in the hallway at the hotel, nothing about booking the room or arranging any of it. It all feels really uncomfortable. I was uncomfortable for the entire time. I'm not
And I'm an awkward person, so he made me feel awkward.
Yeah, I think what they sometimes try to do in movies with this sort of stuff is they try to make it titillating.
Yeah,
they try to make, and I felt like this movie wasn't at all. They weren't even trying to do it. Sometimes, you get to the parts of the movie and they're clearly, I tend to skip through stuff where they're trying to make something. I just don't think the morals of the movie even line up with, because when they get to sex, all of a sudden, let's make it all titillating, just because that's what we do with movies or TV shows. Yeah. But it felt like they really let it be as awkward as he probably was experiencing it, and as cold as she was making it out to be.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I think so, but it depends on the director and what they're trying to, their story. I've been surprised with, I can't name them, but there are movies where like they don't seem to be afraid to necessarily take a side on whether, moral issues. They can just tell the story and let the viewer
do it.
But,
okay, maybe it was a dumb question. So,
but I think you are right. Our view on various issues now has changed and evolved, and sort of, like for example, the rape issue. Like it almost got brushed under the rug. Like if it was true that no one pursued it, none of the adults tried to prosecute or anything like that.
Yeah, I can only imagine they still would have done something back then. It really did feel like that got brushed aside, and especially post Me Too, all those things in Hollywood, you go, I'm aware that wouldn't just be brushed aside. Like there'd probably be there's issues that point, that story point, and the reason why Elaine is cold towards him probably couldn't exist. If they chose to go in that avenue, they would need to have other elements of the story go in a different direction. It'd become a massive it'd be a different story.
Yeah, I was just thinking then, didn't Mr. Robinson confront him
Yeah, he comes in.
before that scene, and he was accusing him of having an affair with his wife, not of rape.
No, I thought that was after Elaine had said that's what happened. That was after.
But then how did he know that it wasn't rape? Like he
Exactly.
So
that's what I think. I don't know that the movie isn't interested in telling you that didn't get communicated back to him. That's what I mean. Characters and theme.
Yeah.
That story stuff. That's like, it's not interested in telling you that he'd learnt that. But also because of the era, I don't know whether or not that particular point would have been aware on audience's mind. Like, hang on, shouldn't he be getting hauled before the cops for this? This is but we'd be thinking that. So we need, as an audience, droplets in there to know that information was dispersed, or that at least the mum only said it to the daughter, and the daughter,
I'm wondering if because they were already separated and not sleeping in separate beds, whether he just knew what she was like and that she was probably sleeping around, and she,
who knows,
not honest, but
I don't know. Yeah. Well, random pieces of trivia from this movie. Do you want to hear some random pieces?
I'd love to hear it.
Richard Dreyfuss.
Yeah.
He is in a 1 second scene when Elaine screams. She really screams too. Gosh, it sounds like she's been murdered. Then everyone comes to the door. And I'll get the cops. Do you want me to call the cops?
Yeah.
And he disappears.
I think there's a few times in the movies where characters scream and it's like it just distorts. I don't know if that was intentional or
maybe it could just be the technology of the era.
Bad sound, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's very jarring.
It is very jarring. Wayne's World 2 parodies the end of the movie with the banging on the churches. So I highly recommend that.
That's such a weird scene.
Yeah. Also, they there's like some analysis, whatever said, like he's sort of mimicking Christ's crucifixion in a church, like with his arms. But that's actually what they were doing was that he was banging on the windows and he wasn't getting much of I think he had to bang really hard, really close together.
Yeah.
And the church person, the minister of the church, threatened to kick him out because he didn't want to smash the windows. He was like, this is not cool. So he had to spread his arms to make it look like he was banging them all. So that's what that's motivated by.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else I learned. I mean, if you like movies, definitely get the IMDb trivia app. Have you got not trivia? Just the IMDb app. Do you have?
I've got it. Yeah.
So you click on the search the movie, and then you scroll down quite a bit, and you'll see trivia. You can even do it for TV show episodes. But this one's got so much in there. I only watched the movie again last night.
Yeah.
So I had a chance to read through it all. But there's probably heaps more information out there about what's trivia, what's interesting, or at least I think it's interesting about how the movie was made.
Yeah.
But that's all I got for you. I don't really know tons more about this movie. The technique and everything on display about how they use the camera and like I think it's all about themes and character in this movie. And there's a clear story. This happens, A then happens, then B happens, which causes C to happen, and then he chooses D and E and F, G. But they're not interested in how all the little technical bits about what we say. So it's it's a very good movie. Rating, what do you think? And what are we going to rate it out of? What's our little rating measure? Like out of 5 stockings.
We'll go with that.
Out of 5 hotel keys.
Yep.
No, hang on. Out of 5 mild stalkery days. I don't know, because he kind of stalks that Elaine for a bit once he.
Yeah.
See, another
So
element.
creepy.
See, this is what I mean. There's things in this movie that you're like, oh, he's coming across like a stalker.
And because he is.
he is a stalker. That couldn't work. You couldn't still. I mean, you didn't like him, but
no,
I was.
Well, there's nothing that he did towards her that made him endearing. Like,
no, I think
he's just a weird, creepy guy.
Okay, we've got to pick a thing. Out of 5, what do we got?
Creepy guys.
Out of 5 creepy guys. That feels like a reduction of the over. Out of 5 diplomas, because he's a graduate. Is that you get a diploma when you graduate?
Yeah.
That's what we learned from the Wizard of Oz. Didn't he get a diploma from the Wizard? The Scarecrow?
I can't remember.
Oh, that's a callback to episode 6, Nick.
Yeah.
We're only on episode 7. Okay, so out of 5. Oh, okay, I got one. How about this? Out of 5
Cougars.
5 cougars. All right. Okay, so first question on our rating things that we measure it by. We cooked up a little method of rating movies, see if it works out. First question is: do you think the movie, what it was setting out to achieve for 1967? Remember, it's not 2020.
Yeah.
Do you think it was a successful film about what it set out to do? Like, yes or no? How successful? What do you reckon?
Coming into this conversation, I'd say no, but now I'll say yes.
So have I flipped you, or have you just sort of really?
No, you've flipped to me. Just the more, obviously I watched it for the first time last night and still sort of processing it. So I think the way it was shot, I guess I was a little bit disappointed with the storytelling, but now reflecting on it, and I can sort of see the movie as a whole, and yeah, I think they did.
Yeah, cool. Good. Right answer.
Yeah, thank you.
No, I feel the same way.
Yeah.
Definitely a successful movie. Out of 5 cougars. So what, the third part of the question we'll factor after we've given our out of 5 rating. So it's very clinical. I'm working my way through it. But what do you think out of 5? And I'm not looking at you. You already cooked up my answer. I'm listening to you to think about what I want.
My initial thought was 3.5 out of 5.
You're cutting a cougar in half. That's 3 living cougars and 1 definitely dead cougar.
4 cougars.
Well, cougar statues, man. Yeah. These are not living things. No blood.
No, I'll keep it whole numbers. 4 cougars.
4 cougars. That's great. Well, I have to agree. I think 4 cougars for me too.
Yep.
When you said 3.5, I was like, I want to say more than that, but that feels right. But then,
okay, yeah,
3.5 to 4. But here's the third question and the third element of this whole approach to these movies, because like we said, we're working our way through the AFI top 100 films of all time. What does it say? AFI 100 years, 100 movies. We're only on movie number 7. Yep. Some of these movies, the rewatchability, that's the real big question here. Was it successful in what it sought out to achieve? What do we think of it and your personal take on it?
Yeah.
And is it rewatchable? Because movies are great. Themes are great. You watch a movie one time, you're probably not going to grab the themes. Maybe you will. Yeah. Depends on the situation, how you watch movies. A lot of people watching movies on phones or with phones in their hands or other things going on. Is this movie rewatchable? How often in the next 10 years do you think you'll rewatch it?
I reckon it's one of those movies you'd probably watch twice and that's it. That's enough.
I think you're right.
I think mainly because there's not characters that you really find endearing and you love. Like we were talking about Back to the Future. There's characters in there you love and you want to watch again and again. Yeah,
I agree. I think I've seen it twice.
Yep.
I feel like I'll probably see it 1 or 2 more times in the rest of my life, unless we do a revisited The Graduate episode, or someone says, "Hey, do you want to watch The Graduate?" For me, we're watching something that sort of makes me not a decision maker in it. That said, definitely the way it was made as somebody who has filmmakering aspirations.
Yeah.
I definitely will look back to this movie as an example of really good theme and really good.
Sure. I can imagine that, like going back to it and looking at the way they shot particular aspects to not just visually be beautiful or nicely shot, but to actually communicate something is pretty clever.
How did the movie leave you feeling? That'll be my last question for you, unless you got something to... Trying to think of ways that as we work our way through these podcasts and work our way through these movies to sort of help communicate really what it felt like with these movies. If you haven't watched it, or if you don't agree with us, if you have different ratings, please tell us your ratings in the comments. How did it leave you feeling?
I don't know. That's a tricky one. As you were saying, it's not portraying these themes as being positive, so that's good in a way. But so I wouldn't say it leaves me feeling. Sorry.
No, it is a coming of age movie.
Yeah,
and I think I think of a movie like Garden State or something that there's not an affair with an older woman in it. There is. Jim Parsons has a relationship with another guy's mum.
Okay.
Yeah. But that's not the main crux of the story. It's sort of plays it as a bit of a joke. That's a coming of age movie about somebody who's sort of got dreams and has gone a bit further down the line and maybe had some failures and things.
Yeah.
I like movies like that, and I think leaving me, if I was 21 at the time, I think I was probably a bit younger than that, a bit around that age when I saw, maybe mid-20s when I saw The Graduate for the first time. I think I probably felt more of an affinity with the movie, and it didn't leave me feeling as empty. This time I didn't leave me feeling dark or empty or anything like that. The things I felt like, the themes it was trying to communicate, I felt like things that I've already moved through.
Yeah.
I'm at. I'm their frustration.
Well put. You're communicating how I think I felt.
See what I mean? Where I just keep talking until I hopefully find something that's good.
Yeah.
Yes. Got me. It took me quite a few minutes to.
So you're right. If you watched this movie sort of, closer to your early 20s.
I think the last thing I'll say about this movie is I think the way that you read the future of the two characters at the end and how they are on the bus says a lot about where the movie, how it's spoken to you. Because if you look at them and you see, they've broken away, they've both smiled, their future is positive, you're probably younger. Yeah. You're probably on that journey at the same time. And if you see that they're probably going to run into some brick walls in their life and they're going to have to work out whether they want to get over them together or, you start to think it's probably because you're a bit further down. Yeah. And I don't know. I'm like, late 30s. So it's like, I might feel extremely different if I'm nearly 50 or in my 70s if watching the same scene. It'd be really interesting to hear someone like Dustin Hoffman's take on that scene, having performed it and been 29. And then now to be, he's not, so what's that? Like he'd be pushing nearly 80, right?
Yeah. So
is he, it's 1937, so it's 40, 63 plus 86. No, he can't be 86. He's not 86. Is he 86?
He's doing well. If
he's 86, I'm doing bad maths.
Easy.
I'm going to look it up. But it'd be really interesting to hear his take on it because he's aged with the movie, he obviously.
But I think that the director's trying to portray that there's this sort of uneasiness and uncertainty.
He's 86.
86. My goodness.
Oh, live long, Dustin Hoffman. Please make more movies.
Yeah.
I really like him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right with the director trying to portray.
Yeah.
Whatever the last thing you said was, because I was just like, I couldn't believe he was 86. Sorry. Cool. All right. Well, do we want to leave it there?
I think so.
We're hitting the same sort of duration by accident.
Well, I think we've found the...
Well, even since episode 1. Thank you if you've been listening since episode 1, but also if you've listened through what will be like 49 minutes of this podcast or something around that. We're really enjoying making these episodes and watching these movies. I hope anyone who's listening has either seen these movies or inspired to see these movies or anything. It is absolutely fantastic to be able to just sit and chat with a good friend.
Yes.
Are you my friend, Nick? About
Maybe.
movies and
if you cut me off anymore.
I'm leaving openings here. Sorry. It's great. Are you having a good time?
Yeah.
7 movies in?
Like, as I've said before, I haven't seen half these movies and I'm thoroughly enjoying it.
Yeah.
Mainly because I'm not a big fan of the modern movies that are coming out. So to go back and watch some classics, which I've never seen, is awesome. It
is awesome, isn't it? So next week we are doing On the Waterfront, more Brando. 8 episodes in, and we've got ourselves up 2 Brandos. So that'll be good on the waterfront.
Have not seen it.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to that. That'll be good.
So encourage people to watch it before you.
Yes. So watch On the Waterfront. You have a week.
Yeah.
Or as long as it takes you, between now when you listen to this and when you choose to listen to the next episode. So we just want to also say a big thank you to Michael Paynter because he made our introduction music.
Great tune.
Great. Yeah, really, really appreciate that. And we hadn't acknowledged that yet at this point, so I'll put that in the credits as well. Is there anything else that we want to say before we sign off?
No.
Okay.
I think we're good.
Okay, Nick, you can sing the official sign-off song. Go for it.
Straight.
Okay, see you later, everybody. Have a good one.
Take care.